Okay, hello everybody. This is gonna be me recording a whole bunch of videos on the same day again, so don't mind me if you see me in the exact same outfit for a week again. That's just how I roll these days. This is gonna be one of two videos that I'm gonna make on V5 and Vampire the Masquerade because I feel like the topic is a bit too broad to analyze it fully. Anyway, the most recent thing that they have done is announce Sabbat the Black Handbook, which actually the short description of it got me kinda excited until I got to the tweets about it. Renegade's first all-new sourcebook for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition arrives this August. Sabbat the Black Hand includes everything you need to include the Sabbat as the antagonists in your game. We're gonna discuss that in a second. Inside you find descriptions of the paths of enlightenment, the foundations of Sabbat identity, information on the Gehenna War, and details on how the Sabbat opposes the Dread Antediluvians. You'll get new tools to expand your chronicles, including discipline powers, minions, and servitors, and the horrifying rite of the Sword of Cain. Paths of enlightenment! Information on Gehenna War, all of that is really swell and good. But here is the kicker. Excuse me? Antagonists? What about protagonists? The book positions the Sabbat as antagonist NPCs and provides rules, powers, and story support for this approach. The book doesn't provide rules for creating Sabbat player characters, but players are always free to adapt the rules as they desire for their home chronicles. Furthermore, on Outstar's Twitter, quite a few people are having a difficult time with the term of the Sabbat book being an antagonistic book. Is there a way to better clarify the intent? And will this mean that Sabbat characters will primarily be antagonistic NPCs rather than player character options? This book provides rules, powers, and story support for the antagonist approach and doesn't provide rules for creating Sabbat player characters, but players are free to adapt the rules as they desire for their home chronicles. Are you allowed to comment on why this is the approach with the book, and will this be the same thing towards a future Second Inquisition book? I can talk about Sabbatas for now, but it will be best if you tune into the World of Darkness news, or watch it later on Thursday, and we'll be able more about this during Elysian event in June. Best to hear our awesome Jan Achille talk about this. Yeah, we're gonna talk about his approach. His whole approach to this whole V5 thing in a separate video. You have no idea how tired I am to hear of people going, we're taking a sect and we're making them irredeemable villains. It's because when you go that route, all I can think of is Disney villains. The irredeemable people, they're supposed to be evil and just evil, and guess what? People don't work that way. When you go, this is a book about antagonists, what it sounds like you're saying is, we wrote a one-sided character that has no personalization or motivations besides doing evil. And it is such a tired way of world building. It is a horrible way of world building. The most recent antagonists that I experienced in a story form that I really enjoyed was Final Fantasy XIV's the Ascians. The Ascians, they seek to destroy all worlds. That's the kind of thing that you will never align yourself to, but you see, they were there when the world split into all these pieces. And every piece is like 1/13 of a person. By now I think it's like 1/7 because they managed to merge some worlds in, one of them is lost to the void, and so on and so forth. For them, 1/13 of a person is not even a person at all. For them, the only way to get what was theirs, to merge the worlds back into one, to have one solid world, but here's the kicker, everybody dies. From the Ascians' point of view, they never lived because they are 1/13 of a person that they used to be. They were there when the world was not split. They remember their friends, they remember their family, they remember all that was lost. The only way for them to get that back is to destroy 13 worlds. And as somebody who is primarily living on those worlds that just knows the world as it is, you don't want your family and friends to die a horrific death. Don't want world mergers to take place because of all of the human sacrifice. So you will always oppose the Asians. You're not gonna join them, you will always oppose the Asians. Their path is so antagonistic that you can not oppose them. But at the same time, you understand them from a human point of view, and that is a well-rounded antagonist. An antagonist that you understand, but they're still antagonistic. There isn't like a gray area of not destroying, of destroying these people not being a bad thing. It is still a horrible thing, but you understand their motivations, you understand why they're doing it, and you understand their pain because just like you, they are, well, Final Fantasy has a lot of different races, but for better term, human. You understand them from a human emotion point of view, and just look at what Sabbat is doing. So, doing mass embraces with no regards for humanity obviously is a bad thing. But at the same time, they're in the Gehenna War. They are fighting so that the antediluvians don't rise up and eat all of their vampire race. From their perspective, that is a bad thing. And if you're playing a vampire character, from my perspective, yeah, you should see that as a bad thing, meaning they're not so clear-cut. Just from what V5 has given to us about them, they are not so clear-cut. And this book is posing them specifically as antagonists. And even worse, this is a $45 book, right? $45 book. And what is the answer from the publisher of if you want to play one of these characters? Homebrew it in! Well, I am sorry, what am I paying $45 for, precisely? For you to give me a one-sided villain? At that point, why wouldn't I just go to a previous edition and homebrew those guys in? It's not like they're a new thing, they already exist. They exist in previous editions. It would be kind of like if you gave me a model of a non-playable NPC, and I would be like, okay, they weren't a clear-cut bad guy, like, they weren't nice by any sense of the word before, but neither are other factions, okay? They weren't this clear-cut bad guy, and now you're giving me this one-sided character model that is as NPC only, and you're like, okay, but I like playing those. You normally give me something to play. And the game developer goes, just mod it in. What am I paying you for? What am I paying you for if you're not gonna let me play these? Like, what is this shit? And it frustrates me so much because I don't know how to reach them. It's like they're moving on one line and their audience is moving on like a completely separate line, and at no point does these two lines cross, and they're so sure of the direction that they're heading in. The chats that I was in exploded. Because, you know what, people don't just like playing an Anarch. People like playing Camarilla, people like playing the Sabbat. You don't need to be a villainous person to play the Sabbat faction, especially if the developer takes the care to portray them as a more humane version of who they are rather than just as a one-sided monster with no redeeming qualities, which is what you get when you title something the antagonist. You are saying to players who want to play this, you are gonna be playing the one-sided monster. You are not allowed to have redeeming qualities. You're not allowed to have these ties that bind you. You are not allowed to have these emotions. You're gonna be playing a one-sided monster. And excuse me, bit of a failure with reading the room here. Do you think your players wanted to play a one-sided monster and to furthermore have to pay you $45 fucking for it only to homebrew it in themselves? Is that what you think your players want to do? How disconnected do you have to be from your audience to think that this is what your audience wants? And then you're absolutely so sure of yourself that there is no way of getting this through you. The Discords that I was in, they exploded, and it was unanimous. People weren't having edition wars of V20 versus V5. No, they were just saying that this is a shit approach. Unanimously, no matter which version they like. And it was such a show of unity, and yet you choose not to hear it. You choose to plug your ears and go la 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 la. You're getting one-sided monsters as a $45 book. I expect you to do better. This is 2021. I expect you to do better. I honestly do. I expect you to do a bit more than just write tropes and one-sided characters and whatever the shit you're trying to sell here, honestly. I expect you to do better. Maybe this video reaches you. I hope that this video reaches you, but I guarantee it's not gonna, because you have shut off your ears to your audience in its entirety. You don't hear us because you don't want to hear us, and the only time I've been as frustrated with franchise has been with and The Sims, and maybe it's working out good for them. I was only a drop in the bucket, but honestly, I was complaining about The Sims 4 breaking down and having simulation lag ever since 2016 until I stopped buying stuff for it. I completely stopped buying, because if I can't run the game, then why would I continue purchasing things for it? And it's the same way here. I foam and I am upset and I make these videos until eventually I'm gonna fizzle out and I'm just gonna move away. It doesn't matter that you are the only person providing a vampire-themed dark TTRPG if you're gonna be like this. It's really not gonna matter, okay? So maybe don't lose a nice portion of your player base. I don't know, maybe that's an option, like not losing a nice portion of your player base by making one-sided antagonistic characters instead of considering all possible sides to the story. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's an option. I don't know, maybe you should like listen to feedback or something. But you know, what do I know? I'm only the person that you're targeting. I'm only the person that's supposed to buy your books. Don't let me tell you how to live your life. Anyways, this has been my long rant on the Sabbat. Thank you for coming and for listening, and may you be blessed by a lot more rants from me. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Toodaloo.